So it becomes really interesting as you understand alchemy more and its philosophies. What you're basically learning is a universal translation device. It's a technology in a way. That's one way of looking at it. It allows you to look at anything inside and outside and immediately understand its origins and, its archetype for expression. But let's say you want to translate it into the physical. You want to take this philosophy and apply it to matter. So philosophies are great, ideas are awesome, but going back to that scientific method thing, it's really in place so that we can't fool ourselves into believing something, because it should be known that no belief is true. All beliefs are opinions, and every opinion is relative, and the truth is not. So if you're going to find fact that defines reality, it cannot be opinionated and it cannot be relative. So if you want to take this into the lab, make it physical, okay, well, then what? What do soul, spirit, and body define physically? It's really cool. So what alchemists would do is they would take some material, plant, animal, mineral, or metal, and bring it into the lab, and then show through the alchemical processes that you could split apart any material, and always it will reduce down to three principal forms. If you take, let's just use a plant, for example. It's the easiest one to start with before it gets much more abstract. Let's say you take a plant into the lab. Usually the first process you do with your plant is you distill it. When you distill it, you'll produce an oil, and we call it an essential oil. It is the essential nature of this thing. It's the actuating cause. Therefore, it is the sulfur, and it's the soul, and it's the consciousness. So if you distill a plant, it will produce an oil. That's your first principle, the soul. Once you've extracted that oil, you can then process the plant matter through fermentation, where it breaks down and it begins to, the sugars and the carbohydrates that make up that plant body are consumed, and it ferments and it turns into a liquor. If you distill that liquor, you get the spirit. And that's exactly why we call spirits, right? When we call alcohol spirits, and the word alcohol means spirit. It's an old Egyptian / Arabic conjunction. So now we have the second principle, a liquor or a spirit, alcohol, right? We have an oil and we have an alcohol. And then you've pretty much extracted this thing for everything it's worth. And the next step would be to throw your material into the fire and burn it down to an ash. And then you destroy it, you kill it. You have to walk through the fire, and whatever goes through the fire is the truth. And there's a lot of metaphors around that. Look at the phoenix and stuff. So you put it into the fire, you burn it down to an ash, you collect that ash, you wash it with water, and all the soluble salts will go into that solution. And if you filter that water off and then evaporate it, you will actually grow little tiny salt crystals, and that's the body. And now you have nothing left from your starting material, right? You got your sulfur, which is your oil, your spirit, which is your alcohol, and your salt, which is the body, and nothing left of that material. And so it provides evidence that the alchemists really did know what they were talking about. It wasn't just some belief system or dogma or ancient religion or whatever.